Good evening. Namaskar. On behalf of Srikara World Foundation, Papuri Palkar, this is Papuri Palkar. I would like to invite you all for the Srikara lecture series starting from today. With the inspiration, like inspired by the thought of Seva Paramadharma, we started our journey as service is the highest form of duty. So we started with many projects in India, Kuwait, and many other places in the world, uh, which is related to the society and the environment, in order to give back what we get from the society and the environment. With that thought, of course, we started very small, and then like-minded people like you all joined us, and that's why we are here today. And that's how the lecture series starts. And today's lecture is on parenting, which is also a very important aspect of the society. Therefore, we thought of starting with this subject, parenting, which is really, really very important. When you go through the lecture, I'm sure you'll be enlightened, and you'll be happy to be a part of this lecture series. I hope this will be really beneficial for you all. Before we start the program, I would like to request Mr. Palkar to give a brief introduction of Srikara, very short introduction. Followed by that, Mr. Milind will introduce our today's speaker, Mr. Sanjeev Bhamre. I welcome you all on behalf of Srikara once again. Thank you so much. Namaskar.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening to my audience from India. Good afternoon in Kuwait, and good day for people who are in the West. Let me just quickly, we have some people who are waiting to join. Just give me a second. Yeah, I'll just quickly introduce you to am I audible to all?
It's bit low. It's yes. Bit low.
Okay.
For us.
Let me quickly introduce Srikara World Foundation to all of you. As Ms. Papuri said, we started very small, and we were joined by like-minded people, and then we are right now where we are. This is Srikara World Foundation. We believe in bringing smiles, Seva Paramo Dharma, and we operate in several areas. I'll just share my screen. Yeah. Is my screen visible?
Yes, visible.
Visible. So we operate in many areas. As you can see here, there are a number of multiple projects where we operate in. Project Aranya. Aranya, basically, we are into forestation. As Ms. Papuri said, we believe in giving back to the nature, we're giving back to the environment from where we draw a lot of resources. So we have certain projects where we do tree plantations and forest conservation. Project Devdatta, this is for people who are in who are underprivileged, who are looking for resources, and wherever possible, we try to help them with whatever needs that they have. Project Upahar, it actually aims at people in distress. So people in who are troubled by calamities, pandemics, we try and help them wherever they are and try and reach to them. Project Saksham is a very important project in our portfolio. We try, and the name of the project itself says, we try to make people empowered. And here what we are trying to do is we are trying to help the people who are underprivileged, the artisans. Like for example, we have some weavers in the northeast, northeast India, and who do not have adequate resources to to make their ends meet. So we try and help these weavers, these artisans, and help them with the raw material and stuff, and then they become self-dependent. That's Project Saksham. Project Amrita is a project where we help empower the farmers, especially the women farmers, to grow medicinal plants. Project Govardhan is about saving and nurturing our the cows, and Project Shiksha is all about education. We try and help the schools, the needy schools, the needy students. We try and help. We have our Shrikara girls, where we we try and help the girl students for their education. Project Nirmal is about cleanliness and hygiene. We work in the areas of Swachh Bharat. We associate with Swachh Bharat Abhiyan of Government of India. And finally, Project Bhumiputra, another important project in our portfolio. Here we try and help the marginal farmers. Currently, we are working with some marginal farmers in the state of Maharashtra, in Palghar district, trying to help them with resources. And these are some of our areas where we are trying to work in, and we have been going ahead with these projects. If I cannot cover the entire spectrum here, because we are here for the lecture series. This is our website. If you can see, shrikara.org. If anybody is interested, you can just log on to this website and see for yourself what kind of projects that we are doing. I'll just quickly give you a glimpse of what our website looks like. So these are our projects here, our works. So you can see all these projects listed here. We also work on the international projects. We have been working in Kuwait in the beach cleaning activities and the food distribution. We have projects right now going on in Egypt, in Sri Lanka, and in Nepal. So that's our international projects. And finally, coming back to this lecture series. This is a lecture series which we wanted to start to help our own community in various aspects of life, and the parenting and career selection is one important aspect where people even the parents need some amount of guidance. So we thought of inviting Mr. Sanjeev, and I'll now hand over to Mr. Milind Kulkarni to give a brief introduction about our speaker, Mr. Sanjeev Bhambre. Over to you, Milind.
Thank you, Sheetal. Thank you, Papuri. Good evening, friends. I would like to welcome our today's speaker, Mr. Sanjeev Bhambre. Sanjeev is an alumni of College of Engineering, Pune, and he's also a Master of Business Management from Jamnalal Bajaj at Mumbai. Major part of Sanjeev's career has been with the IT firm, leading IT firm in India, Tata Consultancy Services, TCS. Sanjeev has been active in research as well as advising on the careers for last 2.5 decades and more. Sanjeev is currently working closely with 2 NGOs. Number one is Snehalaya from Ahmednagar. This NGO is works for children and women, protecting them from inequality, cruelty, and discrimination. And second NGO is Lend a Hand, which focuses on secondary and higher secondary education, secondary students working across 24 states and union territories, covering more than 10,000 schools and covering more than 10 lakh students. So every introducer like me who introduces the esteemed speaker has a tendency to somehow indicate that he or she has some connection with the esteemed speaker. So I'm not going to be an exception. In fact, I'm going to commit the same crime, if I may. I have worked on a couple of projects with Sanjeev when I was working with Tata Consultancy Services, and he was my project leader for the two projects. So this has been, I think, probably 28 years back. That was my first job. And during these 28 years, whenever I was making any kind of career transition, Sanjeev was there for me to support, to advise, and his advice for my career transitions have been immensely valuable for me. So I'm very sure, and I'm really looking forward to the session from Sanjeev today, which will be a really valuable session for all of us. So before I hand over the control to Sanjeev, I'm just want to make two requests to the audience. Number one request is Sanjeev will be using the PPT or the PowerPoint presentation. So I request all the audience members who are using mobile to use the screen in a landscape mode so that the slides become legible for you and they can be clearly visible for you. The second is we will have a Q&A session, Q&A at the end of Sanjeev's session. And so what I request is all of you, whenever Sanjeev is speaking, if you have any queries or any questions, note them down. And when we open the Q&A, you can raise the hand and then we will unmute you and you can ask the question directly to Sanjeev so that he can respond to this question. So with this, Sanjeev, I hand over the charge of the session to you. Welcome to the lecture series of Srikara World Foundation.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Milind, so much. Samruddhi, are you able to hear now? Just put it in your chat because your chat showed that you are not able to hear.
If some of you can just raise the thumbs up or something that you are able to hear, then we will also know that you are able to hear it.
Yeah, we can hear Milind.
Okay.
Perfect.
It's clear, Milind.
Yeah, we can hear.
Clear and loud.
Thank you. So again, I'm requesting Sheetal to unmute everybody so that we don't, the lecture can go undisturbed. Yes, Sanjeev, over to you now.
Okay. Can I share the screen?
Yes, please.
Sheetal will have to give me the rights of sharing the screen. Yeah, okay. Okay, visible?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, visible.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, welcome to you all. I believe all of you are parents. And if not parents, wanting to hear how to go about helping your child to select his career or her career. So we will, this is all, there are a lot of PPTs, 20 to 22 PPTs. So we will go through them and we will go at a slow pace. Okay. So the first slide is we are going to cover basically 4 aspects. What is career selection? Yeah. Then the 8 factors used by most of the people in career selection. Root problem in choosing the education path, and the 2 options which we are going to discuss in details afterwards. So what is career selection? When you ask this question to different people answer this question in a different way. So for example, someone might say career selection is about selecting a discipline after 10th standard. But if you think and pause for a while, you will realize this is education path selection. If you ask, someone comes to you and says, I want to do MPSC, should I do MPSC or not do MPSC? What is he asking you? He's asking you a question of employer selection. Why? Because after MPSC, you can only join one employer. Many graduates come to us and say, should I take X job or should I take Y job? This is work path selection. When a lot of people want to earn more money, they want to shift to software. So when they want to shift to software, that is called domain selection. Some people have a very specific questions like, should I become a lawyer, police officer, or a marine engineer, a seaman, or a doctor? These are professions with very specific qualifications and specific job requirements. This is called professional selection. And most of the people whom I have passed, I have worked with TCS for a long period of time. Now at the age of 50, they come and talk with me and they are trying to find out how should I become more happy in my work. I have money, I have everything, but I don't know what else should I do to be more happy, to be more satisfied in my work. This is called selecting meaning in work. And in the language of psychologists, it is called happiness selection. So if you look at all these selections, different types of career selections, you will understand that each of these selections is different, and each of these choices require different strategies, different information. So generally we use career selection in a very general way. Today we are going to use career selection in a very specific way, and we are calling it education path selection. So selecting your education path after the class of 10th. So typically there are 8 different factors or 8 different ways by which a student or your child chooses his education. One is role model. So if his role model is Bill Gates, he's going to join computers. If his role model is Elon Musk, he will join electric cars and the segment, or even space. Some people select their careers based on their skills. So last week, I had a person who came to me and he plays drum very beautifully. And he wanted to select his career based on his preference of music. Some have perceived interest like in architecture or robotics or even journalism, and some choose that method. The fourth one is money, which is obviously some people's main priority, and they typically choose IT, software. Some people prefer security in jobs in selecting their education paths. Naturally, because of that, they choose government-oriented UPSC, MPSC paths. Some have social values, and they prefer to work with NGOs. And believe me, today NGOs is not a place where you are not going to get salary or anything. I mean, NGOs is as professional as corporate. And many parents influence their child's career. So doctor, if you're a doctor, you want your child to be a doctor. If you are a chartered accountant, you want your child to be a chartered accountant. Friends, of course, always influence our choices. For instance, I became an engineer because a lot of my friends went to engineering. So, have you observed what I have? These are H&M factors. What is H&M? Any guesses? Okay, I know you are not able to respond. H&M is hit and miss factors. So hit and miss factors, these were the factors which we used to choose our education paths. So 10, 15 years back, someone discovered aptitude tests. Aptitude tests. What are these aptitude tests? And it was supposed to be a more professional or more scientific method. What do aptitude tests use? For example, if your child wants to give an aptitude test, what will he do? He will go to a person who will test him on his aptitudes. 5 aptitudes are tested, like numerical, analytical. 5 personality are tested, like open personality, creative, extroverts, and around 10 or 15 interests have been categorized. So a student will be evaluated based on the questions given to him. Typically 100, 150 questions are there. And he will be evaluated on these measures and given a score like this. For example, if his aptitude is analytical, if his personality is diligent, and if his interest is accounting, he will be recommended a job of an accountant or a tax specialist or a financial analyst. So, in other words, aptitude uses destination to help you select your education path. It tells you that after 15 years, you might become an accountant, a better accountant, and therefore today you should choose commerce as your discipline. So this is the way aptitude tests help a person to choose his education path. But if you watch any career path, in fact, your own, you will realize something else is happening. What is happening? Career paths typically start at a very, very broad level. For example, at the end of 10th, like I choose engineering as an education path. But when you choose in 10th engineering, immediately after 2 years, you have to narrow the path further and select one of the engineering choices, chemical or electrical or mechanical or civil. So someone might choose chemical engineering choice. So education path is still being selected, but now more narrow. As the student goes into graduation, he has some more narrow choices to make. For example, if he has chosen chemical engineering, he has choices like fine chemicals, organic chemicals, inorganic chemicals. So the education path is further narrow. So let us assume that he chooses fine chemicals. And then while he is graduating, now he is supposed to take a job. So when he is taking a job, he is supposed to select a domain. So he might choose a domain of working in consumer products like soaps. So he will start applying for Hindustan Lever or Marico or Colgate. Not soaps. Sorry, soaps, it will be Marico and Hindustan Lever. After a period of some, say, 3 years or 4 years or 5 years, he will now know what he wants to work in soap, and he might shift his job into a function called design. designing formulations for soap. So making soaps of different types, designing soaps. So if you observe, the path slowly becomes from here broad to narrow, to domain, to function. So in other words, when we are becoming a profession, we'll keep on changing our domains and functions depending upon the information we get from the market. For example, a homeopathic doctor might choose to specialize in pediatricians, or might even get into a very small segment called chronic diseases. So that means aptitude test, when they tell you what are you going to become after 15 years, is actually not really matching with the reality. Reality might be completely different. For example, I'm an engineer, but now I'm working in education. Sheetal Palkar is, I don't know whether you're aware, he's an archaeologist by qualification. But what is he working now? He's working in HR. Milind Kulkarni, he is also an past MBA, worked in management consultancy, and now he's working in banks. So these changes of profession happen very late in life. And therefore, we should not be worrying about what will happen after 15 years for our children. What we should be worrying is what will happen till he graduates. Because till he graduates, his education paths are just narrowing until here. So in other words, our real problem in selecting education path is about how to help him narrow his education paths. So how can we teach our 8th class child how to select his education path? And how should he select? By narrowing it further and further. So we have two options. One is direct option of choosing the education path. Let us, and this path consists of 3 steps, or rather 3 sub-steps, we should call it. First, identify a broad field like engineering. So if your child is having a current interest based on his current skill set, identify the broad field he would be interested in. So we will now see what those broad fields are. Choose a narrow field from this broad area. And then engage him in that narrow field to teach him the process of career selection. So just remember that word SSD. As we slowly go ahead, I will help you uncover what is SSD. So 3 steps: identify a broad field, helping them choose narrow field, and then use that narrow field, narrow goal to teach him the process of career selection, which he will use till graduate. So let us understand, how to do it. For example, identify broad fields based on his interest, based on his skill set, and his role models. For example, let us see, interest means whether he's interested in games, whether he's interested in robotics, astronomy, or just reading. For example, one of my friend's child, at the age of 7, used to read Harry Potter and all novels. Full 800-page book he used to read in just one night. Or you can use his skill set, whether it is music or drawing, which he has learned. Or sometimes it is also useful to use his role models. And sometimes his proximity. Proximity means if his father is an accountant, that is a proximity. If his uncle is an architect, that is a proximity. So let us see how to do this. So let us say, if his interest is robotics, naturally you will help him select engineering. If it is interest is reading, you will help him select literature. If his interest his uncle is a doctor, he might choose to get into medicine. Or someone of his parents or some are in banking, he might want to get into banking. His interest area is banking. Agriculture, because he sees everything around him. Maybe he comes from a town where agriculture is the main way of living. And very specialized fields. Like I told you, one of the child who came to me last month was, he used to play drums. So like that, some very specialized field like drums or music or some other skills. So identify a broad field like this. But do not stop here, because option next is help him narrow his goals. So, example, if he is choosing engineering, then you have to help him understand what is mechanical engineering, what is chemical, what does the chemical engineer do, electrical engineer do. Because generally many of the students at this age do not understand the distinction between these different branches. They do not have any idea of what is a core branch and what is a supporting branch. So they need all this information. So how to help him choose one of these narrow branches? By knowing his friends. One of his friends might be telling him about computers. Meeting real people. That means meeting real mechanical engineer. And one of the often common ways is Googling. Help him Google careers of electrical or computer or biomedical. What is biomedical? So let us take some more examples. Yeah, in some fields like engineering, you will have to narrow it further. For example, if you take engineering field of civil engineering, there are some more narrow areas like civil contractor, research, teaching. He could be even teaching after taking civil engineering. He could become an architect. He could get into irrigation, or even he can take a government job. So this is many students don't know that I can even teach by going into civil engineering, or I can even do research by going into civil engineering, or I can even do a government job by going into civil engineering. So they see this in a very segmented way. So we want to open up all their options. Or let us take an example in medicine. Most of the people feel medicine means becoming a doctor, either allopathic doctor or Ayurvedic doctor or a homeopathic doctor. But today medicine is a field which has got many branches, right from dentist to hospital management to naturologist to even a software plus medical field. I mean, combining the two, knowledge of software and medicine. And biomedical engineering today is becoming a big field. So today's field of medicine is not the way it was 20 years back. Or take example in agriculture. Whenever people choose agriculture, they feel that they are going to work on the land, but today agriculture has become extremely important. For example, he can join a very highly advanced segments of genetically modified crops, GMOs they call it. And that is supposed to be even, and that field is so advanced that you probably have to go to Europe to do the studies and to get a job. By taking agriculture, he can go to banking, or he can even go to computers. Because now today, everything in agriculture happens with computers. Even the prices of produce, even the weather things, everything is happening through mobile and through computing. They also get jobs in government. Agricultural processing means working in companies like Amul, where the milk is processed further into cheese and ghee and other stuff. So agricultural processing itself is a big field. Or take an example of physical skill, like cricket. Many parents come to me say, my child only wants to play cricket and nothing else. I say, okay, wonderful. Use this interest of his. Previously, whenever a boy wanted to play cricket, we thought he can only become a cricketer. But today, that is no more a limitation. If he gets interested in cricket and doesn't have the skill set to go at the national level and international level, he can still become a coach, an umpire, a cricket journalist, or even get into government quotas to get a job, which most of the cricketers do, as you will be aware. He can get into event management. So, and I don't know whether you are aware, there is a company of sports event management. There is a course, of Sydenham College, which teaches event management of sports only. Or another example in sensorial skills, like music. Same reason, like I told you about the case which I was talking last month. He was playing drums. And in my first 2-3 meetings, he did not even tell me that he was a level 5 drum player. There are levels 1 to 10. And he did not even tell me because he believed that he cannot make a career by his drum skills. So when I told him the options he has, I told him these are the options, that he can become a performer, which means a drummer, and then play with different orchestras or Lakshmikant Pyarelal or other music directors. But he also can become a sound engineer. If he has a knowledge of engineering, he can combine his knowledge of sound and engineering to become a sound engineer or a software editor. Software editors edits a lot of programs based on the sounds. Or a writer on music, which is a very different field. It's like a journalism, but it's not a journalist. You have to understand a lot of music to write on it. Teacher, and again an organizer. So he loved sound engineering field because he himself has got a lot of interest in mathematics and engineering. So now he's trying to work around his narrow goal of becoming a sound engineer. So naturally, your question is, why are we choosing these narrow goals? What is the purpose? So let us take a pause and understand this. Have you heard the story of 3 Masons? I think you must have heard, but I'm going to recontextualize for you. When this Mason was asked, first Mason was asked, what is he doing? He said, I'm laying bricks. The second Mason was asked, what is he doing? He said, I'm building a wall. And when the third Mason was asked, what is he doing? He said, I'm building a cathedral. Cathedral. So which of the 3 will gain most of the skills, you think? Yeah, you don't have to become a futurologist to say this, to answer this. A person who has a goal in mind, he understands and learns far more than a person who doesn't have a goal. And therefore, when we are asking our child to choose a narrow goal, we are helping him understand the process of path selecting. And it is called a SSD process of path selecting, not SKD. I'm sorry, that is a mistake in English. It is called SSD process of path selecting. So let us take specific example of architecture. So let us assume that your child has decided to do architecture. And now let us understand how to use this SSD process of path selecting by helping him. So if a child chooses architect's environment, what does he do? He delves into it. He goes in depth into the architect field and starts finding deeper options deeper options. It is the first S. SSD ka pehla S. So, for example, if for the first time he comes to know, when he starts talk that architect also is different for a skyrise building, then architect should become also an environmentalist. He can build bridges. Bridge architects are different than skyrise building architects. And he also knows that a sports complex architect is a different person altogether, a different specialty. He can get into research also, and he can become and go into the government and work as a town planner. So see, what is happening here is this goal, narrow goal, helps him scan the environment of architecting by using Google smartly. How does he scan the environment? By Googling, by finding out where do architects work? What do they work? By using his friends to find people in the field of architecture. So he starts connecting with his friend differently. And by talking to unknown people. So when he comes to know that there is a particular person who has designed the sports ground of Dubai or Abu Dhabi, which is where currently IPL matches are going and where World Cup is now happening, he starts talking to these people, starts getting confident about talking to them and asking questions. What it takes to build a sports complex. So this is called, understanding the deeper options he starts getting. Scanning the environment by differently. Because the environment is all around us. We just need to be smart enough to scan it properly. If he chooses architecture, he also knows how to convert his knowledge into skills. This is the second S. Why knowledge to skill understanding is useful for a child of 8th class? Because he's busy in gaining academic knowledge until now. His only concept of education until now is how many marks he has got in environment, how many marks he has got in maths, how many marks he has got in English. Academic knowledge. But the world around him actually works not on academic knowledge, but on skills. So he has to understand this difference, understand the difference between knowledge and skill. And he also understands that when knowledge is not available, people find a way out to use their skills to solve problems. So knowledge is not a limitation, skill is a limitation. For example, do you know who is this person? Who are these two people? They are two brothers. I'm just waiting and just pausing to help you, look at those two figures and guess who are those two figures. Yes,
Right.
they are Orville and Wilbur Wright. They invented aeroplane. And you know what was their background? What was their educational qualification? They were cycle mechanics. See the amount of skill they had to develop to build this aeroplane without the knowledge. So this knowledge to skill understanding is extremely useful for our child when he's getting into and starting making his career. So let us understand, if he chooses architect, what knowledge will he convert into skill? For example, one, he might start learning subjects like geometry and geography very deeply. For example, he might start using geometry to measure the heights of building. He might start using geometry to understand the length of a road just by using a telescopic instrument. He might join elementary drawing course to deepen his drawing skill. And he will also discover that there is something like Google Sketch software, which he can use to build different structures of bridge, structures of buildings. So he will discover this because he has got interested in architecture. And he might even work on hands-on projects to build mud structures. I don't know whether it happens in Kuwait or not, but in India, boys still use and build those mud structures of forts during this Diwali period, during this Dasera and Diwali. So they are mud structures. So this knowledge, what we are trying to help our child is not telling him how to become an architect. We are trying to help him how to convert his available knowledge into the skill of architecture. And the third option is SSD, I said, understand the domain of architecture. So because he is now understanding architecture, he starts finding magazines, reading magazines on architecture to get the perspective. Until now, he was not really interested in architecture so much. But now, because he has chosen a narrow goal of architect, he starts spotting these magazines. He starts asking questions and knowing that this is a magazine which will help him understand. He spots stories of architects and architecture even in a newspaper. So when he comes to know that Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel statue was built by an architect called so-and-so, he starts reading the story carefully. And if he's even 50% good in writing, he starts writing about his thoughts, about in the form of articles, in the form of essays, and may not have the confidence in publishing big newspaper or anything, but he can definitely starts publishing it in school magazine. He may start participating in science fair and other project competitions to present the project which he has built. He may have built a project of building a bungalow or building a farmhouse. And so what is happening? He's understanding the domain of architecture from different sides, different angles. So if you see, adolescent's attention is very scattered. So by giving him this narrow goal, we are developing a deeper knowledge of one domain by channelizing his scattered attention. So summary of how does the narrow goal help him in career path selection? The first is, it helps him learn the process of scanning the environment using Google and people. Second is, it helps him find the links of converting knowledge into skill. Knowledge of converting his geometry and geography knowledge into architecture skill. And third D, it helps him gain deeper knowledge of the architecture domain. So this SSD process is useful even when he decides to drop architecture as his education path. Now, this is the beauty of doing this. See, you might be thinking that if he is going to choose architect as a goal, he's going to definitely become an architect. But that is not our purpose of giving him this goal. Our purpose is to help him understand this SSD process of selecting an education path and then using that in whatever he tries to do, whether it is an architect, whether it is a civil engineer, whether it is a town planner, or whatever it is. So this is a transferable process which he can now use to think of some another education path because some new information has come to him about that education path. But this is a direct option. That means choose a broader goal, choose a narrow goal, and use the narrow goal to help him understand the SSD process of career selection. But this is a direct option. Some students do not like this direct option because either they are not aware of what they want very early in life, or they require some more help, some more period. So there is a second option. What is the second option? Help him understand the economic systems around him. this adolescent who is of age of 14, 13, 14, 15, he is very curious about the world around him. He wants to know everything about what is happening around. So he wants to know how is the government providing with the service of electricity, water? How am I getting electricity? So he's interested in knowing how the government provides the services. Does it charge for the services? Does it recover all the money from the services? He's interested in knowing the banking system because he's seeing the banking system through ATM cards of his father or mother, but he doesn't know how the banking system works. He wants to know more. Insurance system to mitigate the risks. Media is one very powerful thing which happens all around us, and media influences us. In Kuwait, I don't know if your children are watching media because it may be in the local language in which your child may not be very comfortable, and so I'm not very sure whether you can use this media in Kuwait or not. Government taxes, yes. How does government tax different services? Why is there less taxes in Kuwait as compared to India? And stock market. Is Kuwait stock market as global or as bigger as India? Or understand the industrial systems. So these are economic systems, but there are some daily services which we also use, like milk. I mean, I don't know, many students don't even know where does the milk come from. I mean, they don't know milk comes from cow and buffalo. They think the milk comes from a pouch, which is sold in a mall. Grocery, like spices, dal, vegetables. In Kuwait, I can see a lot, there could be, I mean, he might have to investigate a lot to understand where do vegetables come from. I'm assuming that in Kuwait, vegetables must be imported, but I'm not sure. But if it is imported, then more the information he has, more the knowledge he has. Clothes. Clothes means our pants, shirts, and things which we buy. Shoes and books. There is a market for each of this. A local market is providing help for all of this. So there is an industrial system which operates this. A student is very interested in knowing this. And by knowing all this information, what is he gaining? He is understanding this and understanding, oh, can I work in a bank? Can I work in a government? This milk sector looks so different. I never thought milk sector constitutes 50% of the agriculture sector. So a lot of questions starts appearing when he starts scanning this, reading this, understanding this. But there is one catch. Because what is the catch? How you help your child is more important than what help you provide. Why? Because of the psychological state of adolescent. So we'll take some, your adolescent is a person, is a child who is neither a child, a small child whom we can instruct, who doesn't know anything, nor an adult who understands everything. He is between. He is an adolescent, a transition phase. So neither a child nor an adult. The age group starts around 12 to 13 and which goes up to 22. So he is in this phase of adolescence. What happens in this phase? On the one hand, he dreams of conquering the world. He believes that nothing is impossible for him. Nothing. I mean, on the one day he might be thinking of going to the moon. Another day he is thinking of going and using a Formula 1 race driving car. He can do anything. But on the other hand, his capacities are yet to be developed because he is still in the transition phase. On the other hand, his hormonal changes are pushing him to become an adult. So he's growing his hair, His shoulders are lengths are increasing. His executive brain size is increasing. So there's a big mismatch between what his capacities are and what he wants to do in life. A big mismatch. So, in other words, he needs help. But there is a catch. Because he is forming his identity, which is separate from us, he does not want any help from us adults. He does not want any help even from us, even from parents. That's why at this age, adolescents become very rebellious, very loud-spoken, very adamant, very restless. So if you want to help him, now you know what to help him and what help he needs. But if you want to help him, you can't do it directly. So you have to follow these guidelines. So you remember, how to help him is more important than what to help. What are the guidelines? Never ever help him directly. Here is a picture of our positive lab, which we had set up some years back. Currently, it is not working. We used to call adolescents here from 8th standard, 9th, 10th year to sit and give them working, and computers were kept. A board was kept here. You see this board like this? Board was kept here. And there were some areas of banking and government access and media which were kept here for him to study. In average, a child of 8th standard will take around 2 to 3 months to start talking to us, start asking our help. If a child comes to us at the age of 10th class, he takes even more time. It takes around 6 months. Why? Because he's very suspicious about all our adults. So we cannot help him directly. And we have to patiently wait. We waited patiently for him to come to us to ask questions. So never help him directly. Utilize his friends if you want to help him. So if you want to tell your child to go to robotics class, don't tell him to go to robotics class. Tell him that your friend XYZ also is interested in robotics. And I think he's trying to do something in robotics. That's all. Just tell him, give him hints. Wait for him to ask questions. Never ever give him any answers without his asking questions. Wait. And when he asks questions, don't give him ready-made answers. Give him hyperlinks of Google or sources of information. Take some pause and tell him that I will find out and give you some information. So give him some hyperlinks which are very general. So if he wants to know what is banking, give him some generic information about SBI. Don't give him what is banking ka hyperlink mat do. And give him questions to solve. Now this is one great place where you can help him. So suppose they are asking you questions, respect him and ask him so let us take an example here. For example, use very pointed questions, such as if you want to help him understand about the Kuwait government, ask him why Kuwait does not have many taxes that India has. So help him compare the two countries. How is electricity supplied at so low cost in Kuwait? Although in India you have solar power, tidal power, and thermal power, why is electricity supplied at so low cost in Kuwait? Why is oil so cheap in Kuwait? Now, probably he knows the answer, but the question is he still has to understand why is oil so costly in India? Why the whole India today is reeling with the oil prices. Suppose you are helping him in understanding the dairy market, you ask him, how does Kuwait get milk? Are there organized farms or individual farms like in India? In India, there is a price control on milk. I don't know if Kuwait has it. So let him find out, let him discover that. So always talk with your adolescent child in kinds of questions, in terms of questions, not give him any answers. To summarize, there is a direct option of selecting education path, broad, narrow, using SSD process. Scan the environment, convert knowledge into skill, and how to understand the domain of architect. How to convert the knowledge available into architect knowledge, skill, and how to scan the environment of architecture. Indirect question, use economic systems around the adolescent. Economic systems, industry supply systems. And more importantly, never ever help him directly. This third is the most important. And despite this, sometimes you may face two problems. One problem is constant change in emotional moods. Because he is transitioning from a child to adult, he faces three big emotions. He doesn't know what his future is, so there is a huge anxiety. Because of which he is very restless. He can't sit at one place because the anxiety is very high in him. He feels inadequate because he knows that he wants to achieve so much in life, but his capacities are very limited. So he feels very inadequate. And when a person is inadequate, how does it respond? He converts that into anger. So he becomes very rebellious, very angry, very adamant. And the third problem is guilt due to mismatch of sex information. Because his hormones are telling him that he is more attracted towards the other sex. But he doesn't know what he should do about it. How should he go about getting information about the other sex? How should he know what his hormones are telling him? And because we adults do not help that facilitate that process, he is not even sure how to ask us. So he feels more guilty about that. So sometimes your child, what we have observed is the more earlier you start helping your child from 8th, more easier it is to deal with these three emotions. The more later you start with your child, like 9th and 10th, you have to deal with these emotions. You have to help him negotiate these three emotions. Which means you yourself require some emotional training, additional training on emotions to help your child. So sometimes your child might help you. I see this as an advantage, Why? Because I feel if I tell you to go into a class and learn emotions, you will not learn. But if your child tells you that he requires emotional help, you will learn yourself. So it's convert that into an opportunity. Or maybe he is having a trouble dealing with his friends. See, as I told you, because he is moving from child to adult, he only relies on his friends. So friends are very, very important for him. But he may be fighting endlessly with his friends on small matters. Or he may be sulking, withdrawing, not knowing how to deal with his demands of his different friends. So when your child is undergoing this period, he will naturally not, you might be telling him do X, you might be telling him do Y, but he may not be able to focus himself on that. He needs help. What he needs help on? To agree to disagree. How to disagree with his friends without hurting them. In technical language, this is called social learning. So most of us learn social learning very automatically from our friends, from our adults. So you may be able to teach social learning to your child far more easily than emotional learning. In other words, career path selection is not finding the destination of whether to become an engineer or a doctor or astronaut or Y or Z. But it is helping him understand the SSD process of selecting education path, because this is what process is going to help him till his graduation phase. And while going through this process, solving the problems of emotions and social that come in the way. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sanjeev. If
Yeah.
anybody has any comments, questions, queries, you can now raise your hand.
Yeah, I just want to introduce my colleague here also, Mahesh Rasar. He also works with me on this. So we will answer your questions. किती वाजले रे? 7:30. So Milind, did you understand why Abhishek is doing stand-up comedy?
Now he has to, he is present in the session.
Acha, he's present in the session.
Yes. So let him
Oh.
answer.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I think you should talk about your child, that how he did all that and then asked you for a permission to completely change his career after spending so many years in graduation.
Sanjeev ji, we have a question from Kannan.
Okay.
What is the ideal age for us to start discussing with our children about their career options?
Ideal age is around when he's in the class 7th or 8th. Yeah, but some children are very, very curious and they start asking questions about career right at the class of 5, that means 12 years of age or 11 years of age. But that time their questions are very, very, what is the word? Very generic. So you should answer also in a very generic manner and not try to be very specific.
You can exit the screen so that stop sharing.
Yeah, should I stop sharing so that I can? Here you go.
Stop sharing. The red one. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Kanan, any specific question you had in mind?
When it's a request you to switch on the videos if possible.
No, thanks a lot. Actually, it was
Can be more
very, very insightful and very informative session. Actually, being with the children growing, it is very important for us also as parents to understand at what age, what is the right age for them. Because especially for the primary school students, when they go to the school, they say, okay, I want to become a teacher. That's the usual which they start off with.
I see.
Thank you, sir.
Achha.
Thank you for your.
Yeah, thank you. What is the age of your child? I mean, which class he is?
My son is of age 8 and he is now in primary 2.
Okay.
In Singapore. And thanks to Milind for extending this invite and giving this opportunity to listen to you. Thank you very much.
Welcome, Kannan. We have a request from Sami. Give me information about event management.
I didn't understand the question. Is it related to that sports thing case example I talked about?
One second, Sami, we will unmute you. You can probably talk.
Yeah, just Sami. See, event managements are of different type. Nowadays, marriage event managers are becoming it's becoming a very big career. Marriage event managers, because there is a destination wedding and there is this wedding and there is that type of wedding. But here, when I talked about that case, I was talking about event management in sports. That is another big career today. And there is a course of Sydenham, which is a 4 years event management course in sports. Can you believe that? I mean, they feel that the field is so big
Like Olympic.
Like, like organizing events like Olympics. I mean, that's a good example. Olympics or Asia medals. And you must be seeing also at district levels, there is district level kabaddi competition. And those are arranged by event managers because they have to be marketed, they have to be scheduled, you have to get the best people to come into that event. So these people do all that job, right from marketing to organizing to getting the players, getting the money for that, getting the funds for that, advertisements and all that. So that's a big career today now, because sports has become a big field in India now.
Okay, we have one more question from Dwaipayan. Dwaipayan, you can unmute yourself and you can ask directly.
Hello, sir. It was a wonderful experience of listening to you. It was quite informative, this session. Thank you very much for addressing us. I have observed now the recent trend is that every other kid is now enrolled in a coding course anywhere in the world. Basically, this has become the trend now. So the other day I was hearing to Mr. Tim Cook of Apple. He was addressing in his Apple annual event, and he was also stressing the need of learning coding for all kids in the world. And so this is how his assessment of the future is. So what is your take on this, sir? Whether we should all be following a very narrow stream, as you said, the domain or the function, I don't know what it would come to, maybe an expertise in the future, which would only lead us to a what you call wonderful life in the future.
See what is your battery is low.
Yeah, come here.
Okay. Mute Mahesh.
I've been working in a computer company for almost 20 years of my professional life. Just a minute. Is it correct now though?
Yes, Sanjeev, we can hear you.
Are we audible now? Are we audible?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah, just to this coding has become a big fad today simply because computer careers earn and give a lot of money. So, and that is one field which is very easily developed, can be easily developed by just sitting on this computer and working on your own. You don't have to go outside. So that is the, so coding actually what many people say is develop logical skills. So in our days when we developed and got logical skills, we developed those logical skills by using subjects like mathematics, physics, chemistry or algebra, these kind of subjects. So they developed logical skills for us, which we are now using in our professional life. Coding also really helps us develop these logical skills to a very, very big extent. So if coding is seen as a build-up of logical skills, please go ahead and do it. But don't use coding as directly a mechanism to get into computers. Not at this stage and not at this age. Because at this stage, our children, they don't even know what is a domain, for example. Coding in travel domain, coding in banking domain, coding in manufacturing domains are a very different domain to be used of coding properly in that domains. And because our children are not even aware of any domains, coding should not be seen as a career launch at this stage. Unless, a child is so brilliant in coding that he gets picked up by Google at the age of 18, and given $1 million salary. So, I mean, nowadays that does happen. But from career point of view, my take on it is that it should be used as a build-up of logical skills.
Wonderful reply, sir. Thank you so much. Your main point is that this should be taken as a skill of logical development and logic development rather than a career choice or something.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Neelamji, you can unmute yourself, please.
Yes, sir. First of all, this session has been really enlightening and very helpful. And this is my first time, attending something with regards to career counseling for my son. Now, he's in year 11 and will soon give his O-level exams. And his interests are cars and music. I mean, he's also doing the Trinity School of London music exams and all. But he's also developed a huge passion for cars. He's always had that. But apart from these two things, he really doesn't have anything else on mind when it comes to career. And I'm okay with the fact that he doesn't have a clear idea as of now. But after listening to you today, then, it's also encouraging that there are possibilities and endless options available. So if you can guide us as to how to proceed further. He's sitting with me actually. So he's also listening.
Can you start his video? And I can just.
Sure. Yeah, so this is me and this is my son here.
Oh, I see. Okay, and what is his name?
Aditya.
Okay. Oh, so these two are equally, powerful fields, music and cars. Yes. Wonderful fields. Yeah, so right now I don't have anything to say other than the more the child talks, more Aditya talks about his passion about these two things, more will come to know about his engagement with the field, and more will come to know what he wants to do really in these two fields. So it will take some different interaction between you and me on this digital platform.
Sure. I'm willing to take this further with you.
Yes.
And so is Aditya. I mean, this is our first time, and I'm really surprised that he, being the teenager, he's really impressed and is open to having a discussion.
Wonderful, Aditya. Then we will discuss. Beautiful. We'll discuss on this Zoom as good for us, because you can sit in Kuwait and I can sit in Nasik and still talk with each other.
Sir, we are in Malaysia.
Oh, you are in Malaysia. Oh my God. You gave us even bigger surprise.
The world has become so small.
Yeah, world has become so small. Oh, so Malaysia, is there a Formula 1 car rally in Malaysia?
Yeah, there used to be. We used to have till about 2-3 years back, I think. Then that was the closing.
I see.
And again, I have seen two types of interest in as far as cars are concerned. One is about having the knowledge of different brands and different features of the car, and the other here we have some competition about technicalities, about engines, what is HP, and what is torque. So these are two different interests you have to but because otherwise cars were always fascinating for kids, because right in the age of, let's say, 5, for example. But is it about only speed, or is it about really knowing further details about the car? So again, these are just
just
questions.
The only magazines he ever buys these days are cars, and he can talk endlessly about those things which I have very limited knowledge of. Okay. So anyways, we'll take it further, sir.
Yeah, we'll take it further.
Maybe at the end of the session.
Thanks, Aditya. Thanks. Yeah, Aditya.
So, Sanjeev ji, at the end of the session, maybe you can share your contact details so that if somebody wants to contact you offline. Yeah. We have two more questions. One is Mr. Fauzan. Can you please unmute yourself?
son is inclined towards pursuing his career in sports and to pursue his passion until it's big.
Fazan, go ahead.
Fazan?
Acha. So it's about sports, I guess, right?
Hmm.
So the son is inclined towards pursuing his career in sports. Okay.
Hello, good evening. Yeah, this is Fazan. I am very thankful to be a part of this lecture by Shrikara. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Sanjeev, and I'm very grateful to Mr. Milind also, who's a colleague of mine who actually guided me and to this one, and he promoted this. He's doing a wonderful job by promoting this, and he put me on this. So I'm thankful to all of you all. So my question, my son is in 11th grade, similar to the question of the lady previously, and he's very fond of sports, as you know, cricket, football, all around World Cups. So they are very much infatuated with these kind of sports, and everybody thinks that they are the top players. So that's what's on their mind is. What I am saying to them is to follow their studies and pursue their passion. That is my thing, and they are still towards that. I want to make it only great in sports. So that's my concern, like how to make them explain that sports, okay, is a passion, and until you hit it big, you can not leave studies.
Yeah. True.
I'm sure this is a very big challenge for a lot of parents at this stage.
You're right. You're right. Many, one of the easiest thing which you do here is find one cricketer, for example. I'm just giving one. Most of the cricketers, even when they start playing at a very international level, get their graduation done. What is the purpose? They want some backup option, because sports is such a field that it is a very highly competitive field. I mean, you may be the best in the field, but because in a particular era, there is so much competition, you might not even get a place in the team. So you have to use, like I told in that sports slide, you have to use and start thinking of other options at this juncture, of options of coach, becoming a coach, options of getting into event management of sports, options of just becoming a sports, what is the word? Sports psychologist. Yeah, sports psychology. Today, sports psychology is a very big field. So something which is related to his interest, one is sports, and combining it with something, together with it. So we should start, and naturally what happens, Faisal, what is your name? Fawzan is, if you start telling him this, no, he will not listen to you. I mean, they don't listen to us. So therefore, the only way to tell them is through using some other person to whom they can talk. So some player who is already in the field, some even retired player is good enough. Your player who has retired, but with whom he can relate to, is good enough.
I see.
That is how they understand, because they feel that this fellow, I can go in his shoes and understand. They feel like that. For you and me, they feel, these guys don't understand anything about sports. They just want to give us gyan.
I see. Certainly. Thank you very much. Thank you. Very insightful.
Thank you, Fawzan. We have last question from Rishikesh. Rishikesh, can you unmute yourself and ask the question, please?
Obviously, in Indian context, ideally, science and degree.
Yeah.
Rishikesh, can you hear us?
Just students take the different course. And
You can go ahead.
options on this. Okay. Did you understand the question?
Yeah, Rishikesh, I'm trying to read your question in the chat box.
Hello, am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are audible now. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So my question is quite generic. I mean, nowadays, as we know in the Indian context, I mean, parents usually won their awards to go for more technical or a professional degree rather than going for liberal arts or something like that. So, but if a child might have, if he develops some kind of artistic ideas, or maybe some people have also mentioned that They might be interested in sports or some other specific, very niche areas which are not traditional. I mean, not very professional in that sort. So what is your opinion? How do parents in general, or elders or brothers like me, if we want to guide someone who is younger than us, who are in their formative years, probably who are in their teens, how can we help them understand and guide them in this regard, in this area? How do they choose exactly? If they really have that passion for arts, or they should rather take up science or a professional degree and go ahead with it?
No, can you, my request to you, Rishikesh, is can you be more specific? For example, this brother of yours, brother or who is it? Brother
He's a
yours.
younger, he's a younger brother. So he's in his 9th standard.
Okay. And what art field he likes?
He's into English literature.
Beautiful.
And so he's more passionate about books, and he reads and he likes to read novels, fiction, non-fiction, and he wants to explore more of the literary side of it. But the thing is, his parents are forcing him to take up a professional degree, something like engineering or medicine, or probably become an architect or something like that, which is more, that's why I say it's generic, because I believe most parents have that tendency to actually ask their children to take and invest their time and future in a more technical line, or in a professional degree, so that there is a good return on investment. So that's why I say it's quite generic. So how do you plan? I mean, how do I guide him? Because he's young and he can't really do anything about it, because he can't really go and rebel against his parents. So how do we? How can I help him in this regard? In this case?
But Rishikesh, you don't need to help him. You need to help his parents first.
Right. Yes. Exactly.
No, isn't it? Because he's not the problem here. The problem is the parents who don't believe that one can make a career with English.
Right.
So one of the best ways to do is this: find some people. For example, I have one friend of mine whose daughter was also a very brilliant student, and she did not want to do engineering, surprisingly.
Right.
And she was fascinated with like your brother is in literature.
Yeah.
And then she has done now journalism, 4 years course in Chennai.
Yeah.
And she is working one of the best news media today in India. That's last year.
Great.
So maybe you should meet some people like this. I can even connect you to that girl, and you can talk to her. He should talk to that girl, or rather not he. His parents should talk to the girl.
Exactly. True.
And find out, oh my God, is there a career like that? And how much he's earning, if you ask, then they will be shocked,
Exactly.
Oh
right. So there is a follow-up question here. There is a classic case of dilemma. Once that child, I mean, he is in confusion that if I don't take up what my parents are suggesting me to do, like after a certain point of life, I mean, suppose he graduates with an English degree. I mean, he rebels and he makes his parents understand, and we all help their parents, and we're like, please let him do what he wants. That's his passion. And all of a sudden, because we know the job scenario in India, so it's very hard to find a job, and it's hard to find a rewarding job instead. So if in the near future, if probably when he's 25 or 24, he fails to make a career out of it. He thought it's his passion, and his love for literature, and he went and got a literature degree. But all of a sudden now he realizes that, okay, I did a mistake. I should have taken up a professional degree instead, like what most people would want him to do. I mean, right now. So that classic case of dilemma, how do we actually help him right now so that he doesn't get the dilemma later? So that's more, that's something that I cannot ask his parents to do. His parents' immediate rebuttal is that, okay, what will happen in the next 5 years? You do not know. The job market in India is very unpredictable. And with a liberal arts degree, it's very hard to find jobs. So what do I say?
No, then I will send you some articles where they are saying now, the more digitized we are becoming,
the more
Yeah.
liberal education is becoming more popular.
Right.
Because the problem is, the more technical things we understand, we also, on the other hand, has to understand more about the softer things like philosophy, psychology, emotions, beliefs, and all that. Even to make these digital machines work.
Right.
I don't know how to say this or what answer should I give it to you, but one should understand that liberal education is becoming more popular because of more digitization. It is exactly the reverse.
Right.
Exactly the
Yes.
reverse. And maybe
Yes.
I will share with you some hyperlinks like that,
Surely, sir.
which could help you, convince them
Surely,
this dilemma.
Thank you very much.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Rishikesh.
Thank you, Rishikesh.
Thank you, Sanjeev. Thank you for your time and sharing your thoughts, your knowledge with us. And I'm sure the information is really helpful to the parents who are always facing dilemma, because this is a very sensitive topic when it comes to parenting with respect to career selection. Thank you so much for an enlightening session. We like the concepts like SSD. These are all new concepts to any parent, and I'm sure they will help the parents to guide their children for the education, the narrowing down of the education, selecting the path, and so on. I really thank you on behalf of Srikara World Foundation to you and your team, Mahesh and whoever is in the team in the background working with you. I also thank all the audience here who spared their time and joined us. I'm sure this session will be really helpful. And if you have any questions, you can direct them to us, and we can direct them to Sanju sir, and he can probably, Sanju sir, we can share your personal contacts for if somebody is interested in taking up offline with you. I would also like to thank all our well-wishers, Raghav Sadekar, Anant Ganuji, of course Milan, and the team Srikara, our director Papuri, and all our other directors who have been helping organizing this series. And please stay tuned. We have some good, exciting topics coming up in the near future. So stay tuned. And thank you once again, all of you. And goodbye from Kuwait. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.